drum up now. We're in the year is 1965. Our son Joe, all right, our first son, born on April 4th. April 4th, yeah, 1965. Joey's born, and that was exciting for us because, especially for me, I think, because I was, to be honest with you, I was looking for a son in the beginning. I'm a junior, and I was looking for someone else to follow the same name. Well, anyway, we did give him the same name, Joseph Edward McGorry the Third, and that went over like a lead fart. The third, but it was okay. He doesn't really use it. I don't blame him, but he is the third, and our first son, and we're so happy that he's with us, and he brings a lot of joy to our hearts, and he's gone through some good times and some testing times. But as we all have, and you're going to find out too, young people, be ready, be prepared when the testing time comes, that, you stay strong and don't bend, bow, or buckle. Joey, one thing I remember about Joey, after he was born, all right, my mother came to visit. And she came to visit, and she was visiting right after he was born. I'm trying to make sure I get everything I say here ducks in order type of thing. But Susan, the day my mother came, I believe Susan was working, and she came. Susan got home later at night, and we visited for a while. Joey, of course, just born a couple of days or a day. And the next morning, when get up, I wanted to show my mother the car that we had just purchased, or that we had purchased that. Not just purchased, but she didn't see it. And I went to the front door, and I opened the front door to show and I called my mom and I said, "Hey, Mom, come here, I want to show you something." And I opened the door and expecting to see the car there. And guess what? The car was not there. I go, whoa, wait a minute. And you had to stop thinking that, wait a minute, where's the car? And I looked down the driveway to see maybe Susan had parked it down there, or somewhere out of the way, and I couldn't find it. And come to find out that, guess what? The car had been stolen. And called the police, and also had called Susan's father to let him know that maybe someone had, dropped it off there or whatever, to if he heard anything, because he deals with cars or, automobiles. And eventually we get a call back. I guess it was the same day, not sure. But the car was found. And guess where it was found? It was found at the Norwalk Drive-In Theater. Mm-hmm. And it was out of gas. So we just assumed that it was a joyride by some, quote, teenagers or something. There was no real damage to the car. And it went to your dad was the one who called, because they took it to his garage. He checked it out, and everything was okay. And so we moved on from there. But that was kind of, whoa, hey, Mom. and he slept through the whole thing. 2 days old. One thing I remember about Joey, while we're thinking about him, he is one of the funniest things that I remember that he did that made me laugh at an earlier age when he said this. This goes back to when we were moving from Connecticut to Ohio, and the transportation was that Susan and the three girls flew. They flew out from Connecticut to Ohio, and Joey and we had a 64 Rambler, and we were driving that out to Ohio, Joey and we were going to stop an overnight in Allentown to visit his grandparents. So anyway, we drove, and we had Thomasina with us too, the dog. Right. And so we drove, and nice drive, good weather. I mean, and Joey was, back then you didn't have the seat belts, so Joey was having a good old time. Front seat, back seat. Mm-hmm. And we came to Allentown, and we spent the day and the night in Allentown and left early in the morning for Ohio, which we were going to drive through Pennsylvania to Cleveland. And we get in the car, everything's good. See you later, Grandma. See you later, Mom. Love you. You know the good things. Make sure when you're leaving someplace, have a smile and have a joy in your heart. And you don't have to say goodbye. Say see you later. Yeah. So we're on the road, and we're driving on Route 80, heading west towards Ohio, and everything's going well. And we're in a long stretch there driving, and Joey says to me, he says, "Dad," I said, "Yeah, what's he said, Thomasina peed all over the seats in the back here." I'm paraphrasing, true story. Yes, true story. And here I am, like on a stretch of I-80 where the exit is like 4 miles down the road, and I'm going, oh, and so of course I'm a conservative Christian, so I don't want to say too much, Anyway, all right, Joe, good boy, okay, just take it, come sit up front. And he did. He came and he sat up front. Thomasina is in the back there. And I have all things dancing through my head about, it's wet back there, it could stay, all this stuff. And we're driving along, and I'm looking for an exit to, stop the car, wipe it down, and do whatever else has to be done. And Joey's sitting there, and he says, "Oh, Dad." I said, "Yeah, what's the matter? What's wrong?" I said, "Nothing." He says, "But I was just kidding. Thomasina didn't pee on it." What? He said, "I was only fooling." I said, I'll never forget that, because he was. And anyway, we laugh at it now and laughed at it then. But that was probably one of the highlights of my life, as far as being with the children, saying something, like what he said. So, this is 1965. Then no, that was 1960. That was 1963, I think, or no. Yeah. Where are we now? What date are we at now? Joey's 19. Let's see. Yeah, well, that thing with Joey was 1960. 63 when we were moving to 1969 when we were moving to Ohio. And then 73 we talked about. 74 the Volkswagens, the police department, Susie being born, Joey born 1975, and now we go to 1976. Am I right?
66.
65.
You're still in the
Where am I at?
60s. You're jumping to the 70s.
I want you to know, people, that I haven't slept for 4 days, and I'm strapped to the chair here. They won't let me out. No, I'm just getting mixed up. 1960.
Yeah, you just.
He was born
you said
1965, 1966. Let's see.
Moved to Ohio.
We're in Ohio.
69 we moved to Ohio. We're in Ohio till 73.
We're in Ohio till 73.
I'm
Right.
going to pause it.
Yeah, thanks for listening to that part of the story about Joey going back a few years. The years are 1966 to 1969. We are living in Ohio.
Connecticut.
66 to 69, we're living in Connecticut, not Ohio. Okay, and it's those years were days of good days. I'm trying to think of something that affected me in 1966, 1967, 1968. Yes, they were good years. In fact, the weather was good those 3 years. I don't know. I'm trying to remember 67, 68, 69. Good inside. The children were in school, except for Susie and Joey. Okay, they were still too young to go to school. And Susan was working across the street at the Notre Dame Convalescent Home. We had another tough incident, I think. No, it's a sad incident. I was thinking of the dog George.
Oh.
Yeah, we were babysitting pet sitting a dog named George, and he was a very popular pet to Susan's half sister, and they went on a trip, asked us to babysit them. We babysat George, and unfortunately, he was a very type of funny dog, and he barked a lot, and he ran around a lot, and he made many people smile. But the thing was, the thing was that wasn't too much to say about him, except that he got out of the house, and how he got out of the house I'm not sure, but he ran across the street and he got hit by a car, and George died. And it was very difficult. First of all, he was a good dog, and second of all, to be able to have to tell Bonnie that her favorite animal of her life passed away, and it was our fault. That wasn't good. Can I come up with something good?
Okay.
What makes us proud of our children, or what makes me proud of our children? Let me think. No, I'm only kidding. They are a blessing. We love them so much, and I'm serious. And we would do anything for them, even if you have to spend some time. I'm not too sure about that, but we do love them, and we're proud of them. They're hard workers. They're not slackers. they're educated. They've done well in the business world, their work, and with their families. They're good parents, and yeah, and we don't see them that often. That's the hard part, but just being able to, with the communications that they have today, we have a Zoom program. I think we mentioned it every Sunday. We try to get together with them. They can come on and talk and visit with us. Yes, that makes a lot of things to say, but I don't want to. The best thing about being a parent is just what I said. They're asking me that, what's the best thing about being a parent? Just being able to keep in touch with them, with the communications that we have nowadays. So important. And some of you probably don't do it like you should. Okay? Stay in touch with your loved ones. Okay? Even at a distance, you can do it now. Back in the day, we didn't have all the communications that you have now, but and being a grandparent is even wow. Susan, so good. Her heart is bigger than the heart that she has on the outside. Her physical heart, her spiritual heart, her giving heart, is such a blessing, and it is. When we moved to California, I mean that was a big move, and that was in 1960.
73.
Nah, wait a minute. That was in 1973. Opportunity came to move to either Chicago or California, as San Jose area, Menlo Park area, California, with my job, and we accepted it and moved out there. I think I told you about the truck, Susan taking all the plants, and we spent time out in California from 1973 to 1983, and we talked a lot about that, or California, what I did there, and I'm kind of skipping around here, and man. You know, yeah, appreciate your patience and just trying to get my script together here, or whatever you want to say, as far as, but I have a couple of things that I'd like to mention to you that I think hopefully you will enjoy, but it's from the late 60s while we were still living in Connecticut. And one of the big things that as far as affected our family and was my sister and her husband and their children. He was in the Navy as a pilot in the Navy, was transferred to Bridgeport, Connecticut area, working, going to be a test pilot for the helicopter manufacturer called Sikorsky. And they moved in like 67, somewhere around there, 66, and lived in that area. And one of the things that he used to do when he was testing the helicopters was he knew where we lived, which was, hop, skip, and a jump on a cloud. Was the fact that he would come over, fly low over the house, and the children would get all excited, and even the parents we would get excited also, and just with the helicopter, and he would do that often, not every flight, but he would do it, and we enjoyed it, and we got together once in a while to to visit. And we also went out a few times. And one of the times that we went out as a couple, just the four adults, my brother Dennis was playing football for Rutgers University, and he was a starting defensive halfback. And they were going to be playing Yale University in New Haven, Connecticut this weekend during the fall season. And we got tickets to go and watch him play, the four of us. So we were going to drive up to New Haven and watch the game, which we did. They had babysitters for, and we got to the game, and it was raining. It rained. It really rained. It was very hard rain and wind and during the game. And in fact, it rained so hard. True story, John. True story. It rained so hard that the Yale band left the stadium at halftime. That's the band left, okay? Not the Rutgers band, though. Anyway. But not too many people were in the stands. This is a stadium that seats like 50,000 people, and there was probably less than 10,000 there, maybe even 1,000, I don't know. But we were trying to keep warm with trying to stay dry, and then with some liquid refreshment to stay dry. Hiccup! No, oh, excuse me. And we got to halftime, and like I said, it was probably, the stadium was just about empty. But football, you don't stop because it rains. You continue, you play, unless there's lightning and thunder, which there wasn't. It was just strong rain and wind. And the next thing you know, Tom and I are, wanting to, move around a little bit. We're down at the sidelines, right where the players are, when the second half is beginning. And I can remember walking up to the sidelines, and my brother, I forget his number, I think it was 7 or 12, I forget. But I stood next to his number, and he didn't know I was there right away. And I said, "Wow, look at this crazy." Well, and he looks and he turns to me, he says, "What are you doing here? You can't, what's going on?" And Tom is on the other side. "Hey, we're going to help you coach. We're going to, And no one said anything. I mean, no security came and threatened to throw us out or anything. And so we stayed down there for a while. And the next thing you know, Susan's mommy's down there, the sidelines. But she's down here for another reason. This is near the, I don't know if it was near the end of the game, but she says, "I have to go to the bathroom. Where do I go? Can't." And so we checked with somebody, where's the closest restroom? And it was the locker room. Can you believe that? Anyway, your grandmother, your great-grandmother, all right, went into the visiting team's locker room, okay, to do her business. And Tom and I, we were her bodyguards. We blocked the door to the locker room restroom until she did her business. And that was good. That was a true story.
Yeah, I had to peel my clothes off.
And anyway, that was quite the story. And by the way, Rutgers defeated them. It was an upset. Okay, and ready. Okay, here's story number 2. Quickly, with my sister and brother-in-law and their family, we went up to see them at their home. They had a nice home on a hill, not too far away. On a hill far away, what a song it is to say. Oh no, that's another story. But they lived on a hill, not a large hill, but it was a hill. And the children are all small. This is 1967, 68. And Katie is our oldest. And we get to their house, and it's a nice house, and it's a nice day, and the children are outside playing, and the weather's fine, like I said. And they decided that we watched, and we were in the house, or outside maybe on a deck area, not too sure, but watching them. And my sister had, she had a total of 6 children, and I guess 4 of them were age. They were out playing, and some of them were on bicycles, and they were taking the bike and going down the hill and just having a good old time. And the next thing, we're sitting there, and I look up at the top of the hill, and I see our daughter Katie's on a tricycle, little tricycle. And I see her, she's getting ready to take off and go down the hill. And it's just like something said something, you better stop her, because you get to the bottom of the hill, it's a dead end, there's a curb there. And you have to stop or go left or go right. I mean, because if you hit the curb, you go over the curb and you go down a ways. You can, and it's not safe. So I just got up and I started running. She's coming down the hill and I'm over here, and she's coming down the hill and I'm over here. And just as she's getting by the front of the house, she's getting near the curb. I was able to run fast enough, and couldn't do it today, but I did it back then. I was able to grab the back of her shirt and pull her off the tricycle. And then you see the tricycle hit and it went down over the curb.
Yep.
But that's a true story. I mean, I'm not making fun of it, but it was, thank God. And I could show you Katie now, but
Thanks for saving my life, Dad.
That was the Holy Spirit. That was God. No, but yes. So that's the other story, I guess, that was in 1968, just before we were getting ready to move from Connecticut to Ohio. And eventually, I think you know the story, I got a transfer offer to go to Ohio, and this was in 1969. And because of our situation in Connecticut, I accepted the offer, and Susan was okay with it. And we moved, got ready to move to Ohio. And in 1969, we took our trip to Ohio, and that's where I told you the story of Joey getting me all with Thomasina and the dog in the car. The girls flew out to Ohio. They got there first, and then we came in that night finally, and we began our life in the city of Lakewood, Ohio, which was next to Cleveland and suburb cities where I worked for 4 years as an office manager there, and they were a good 4 years. We lived on a street with many children that were all over the place. I mean, for me, it was like, whoa, first day there, I think Susan mentioned it. I like, whoa, there's too many children here. I was ready to move, But it ended up, we had good families, good fun, good memories. Susan made friends with the neighbors. We both made friends with the neighbors, and a lot of young children, in the neighborhood, a lot of them. I mean, and Thomasina, the dog, would follow them around and keep her eye on them until Thomasina got. That's our dog, and we had her for about 5 years, something like that, I think. But one day in Ohio, she chased a motorcycle that was not working right, and the guy in the motorcycle, she ran between the tires and that was it. And we buried her there. And then another incident was our daughter Tracy riding on the back of a bicycle on the seat, legs out so the spokes wouldn't get her, and she fell. The spokes got your ankle, twisted the bike around, and the bone showed, Tracy's ankle bone. And that was another scary incident because Susan was home alone. I was working a second job, and we just had Jimmy. He was like not even a year old, I don't think, maybe a year old. And he was born in 1970. Yeah. Little boy came to door. Mrs. McGorry, Tracy, and Susan ran down thinking, the worst, and it was pretty bad. And the doctor, over the years, took a while to heal enough to where it was a normal ankle almost. And we have the scar. We have pictures of it. If you send us a self-addressed envelope.
She still has the dent.
And we're almost close to our time in Ohio. A lot of good memories. And Katie, we talked about that with her, where she got a fundraiser for muscular dystrophy, and that's been said. And we move on from there. And the parades, we talked about the parades where Susan made outfits for the parades for 2 years in a row, Lakewood Day Parade.
That was fun.
And that was another awesome memory. We painted our house. One of the things that we stripped our house of paint and we painted it. And in the front of the house, just like it should have been there all the time, if you have a picture of the roof that comes out from the second floor house, there's a roof that covers the front of the house. Some guy was up there thought he could paint the whole house, and he looks a little bit like me, but I found out that it wasn't me. It was me. And it's one day I go up there, probably in a hurry, and I bumped over the can of paint, and the can of paint put a line right down the middle of the roof, the front roof, not the whole roof, but right there. And if you look at it, you step back, that thing is centered just right in the middle of so we thought it would be a good selling, No, we didn't think that. But that was something that we, right? I think, yeah. Oh, we had a dog. Did we tell you about our dog? We had a dog named Candy. After Thomasina died, we decided we would get another pet. And I'm not sure how we got Candy, for an ad in the paper or dog for sale. I think it was $75. Susan went and got the dog, Candy. Candy was a sheepdog, an English sheepdog, where your upstairs brain didn't get to
Something happened.
third floor.
No.
But anyway, she was a cute dog, very, very lovable. She loved everything, even clothes. and carpets and shoes. Anyway, Candy was very, very active, very always on the trying to do things, you know. And this one day we decided to take a trip and go out. Susan's aunt came to visit, and we were going to take her out to the Amish country. And make sure you put Candy in the back room, lock the doors, and you know, she'll be okay back there till we get home. So we went out. Or no, did we take Candy that time? Oh, she came with us. Oh yeah, this is another time with Candy. There are 2 stories with her. This is the first story. She came. We had a station wagon. She came with us on the trip, and the aunt was like an auntie name. Oh, Suzanne type of, you know, that type of language, and you know. But she was funny. We enjoyed her. And we took Candy and the children and Aunt Liz out to Amish country. And we had a nice time. We stopped at this one place to get, to just check it out. And I parked at the curb, pulled in and parked the car, and got out of the car. And you had to walk up an incline a little bit to go where we were going. And we did that. We had a nice time. They were there maybe half hour or something. And it's time to go home or go back to the car. And I'm walking back to the car. The children are following Susan, and Candy's coming down the hill. Man, she's coming real good. And she passes me, and she goes to where the car is. She goes between the other parked cars, and there's the curb, and she doesn't stop. She jumps over the curb, and we watched Candy jump over the curb. And you know, Irish sheepdogs have that long fur hair, and she's doing a spread eagle, and she's up there for about 3 seconds like this, and then all of a sudden, boom! She drops down, and you couldn't see her. You know, we're running to see her. And like, oh my gosh, what did she do? Oh, Candy, we have no place to bury her here. I didn't say that. So anyway, Candy's down at the bottom of the drop, which is probably about 5 or 6 feet.
No, 20 feet.
You know.
Yeah, it was steep.
And yeah, it was a steep, I guess, I don't know.
She had a
But anyway, you look down, and she's like, just boom. And is she dead? Is Candy dead? Anyway, I go running down the hill, and just as I get to almost to the bottom of the hill, she gets up like and shakes around like, oh, and she turns around, and I grab her. I think I grabbed her anyway, and she's walking, so get her up the hill. Anyway, she got up the hill. She lived. She survived that and everything. But Susan's Aunt Liz, she just couldn't believe what she just saw. I mean, she saw this dog. What the heck? You know, Anyway, we got home. That's one story with Candy.
Yeah.
And the other story is Aunt Liz wasn't with us, but Candy, we put her in the back room. We were going somewhere and locked the doors. And we're gone for a couple hours, whatever, we're gone. And we come back, and I pull into the driveway, and standing at the end of the driveway by the house is Candy outside. I go, what the? How did she get out? Who left the door? I start yelling at the children like, you know, who did this? Why did, blah, 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 you know, and go in and get her. She wasn't going anywhere. She was happy to see us, you know. She was hungry probably. She saw food, smelled it. And I go into the back room to see who opened the door. And the door, everything was locked, closed. And I look over and I look out, and there's a big hole in the screen because I left the window open, the screen, and there's a hole like this. And that dog jumped through the screen to get out.
Oh, yeah.
Yay, tell you. Okay.
3.
Okay. We had some fine, good neighbor friends, adults, not just children. I mean, there were adults living on the street, but you would never know it almost. With the odds of how many children to each adult, lot of children, Anyway, adults were there, and one of the places that we joined, okay, for the children and for us, the entertainment and whatnot, was the Knights of Columbus, which was a Catholic organization, and we would go there maybe once a month, if that, for like a dinner and then games with the children. And they had outdoor games also for the children. And they enjoyed it, and we enjoyed it also. And they were coming up with I don't know if it was a Christmas time or what, but they were going to put on some show. You could, like talent shows or shows, it was up to the people, the members, to, get together and do this. And one of the parts that we came up with was, if you remember Bill Cosby. Some of you don't remember Bill Cosby, but he was a black comedian in the 60s and 70s, very popular. And he was the one who said when his baby was born, looked like a lizard. I always remember him saying that. All babies look like lizards, he said, something like that. Yeah, right. Anyway, one of his routines was he played Noah. All right, and Noah and the ark. And the routine involved God calling him, and he listening to God in funny ways and all this. Anyway, the show is funny too. Our neighbor talked me into trying out for Noah. He was gonna play the voice of God. This is Mr. Wilhelm, and I said I would. So anyway, I ended up playing Noah, and it was funny. Good show. Good everything for that. And I don't know why I really said this, other than I had one of the head part. This is how it started on my, to where I am today, in the kitchen in Quakertown, Pennsylvania, putting on a show for 3 people who are related to me. That's it. I mean, but that was my beginning of, my stardom. But Knights of Columbus. Why did I? Oh, well, no. Anyway, I got an offer to move to with the job to either go to California or to Chicago. Long story short, I chose to go to California. I was the only one who really wanted to go to California, but because my wife God bless her. Really, I don't want to start talking about that, but Susan is a blessing to me, and so much. We decided to go to California, and one of the people who worked at General Electric in Ohio offered me an interview in a company a unit he worked with in General Electric, which was big time in Ohio at this time of the century. And I refused. I wanted to go to California. So we made arrangements to go to California, had to sell some car and get rid of some other stuff, and which we did. Trying to think of to get us going. Anyway, the time came. We were all going to fly out to California. North American Van Lines was going to move us, and I think told them they loaded all the stuff up for us, and of course they did a fine job. And we flew out to California. We flew into Los Angeles first, I think. And then we had to fly out from Los Angeles to San Jose is where we were going to be the closest airport. And Susie, I think, got sick. I don't know if she threw up on the plane or not, but yeah, Susie got sick. But we're now getting into California, and it's 1973. And 1973 was a good year for crops. And the Mediterranean fruit fly also knew it was a good year for crops. And when we got to California, all of Mommy's plants, she told you the story, got destroyed. They wouldn't let, California wouldn't let any of it in. And it was legal because it was a law. They made it a law. And we came in, and like the first 2 weeks in California, I think it was pretty much around that time is when the Mediterranean fruit fly was very prominent in California, and the helicopters would come over low and drop the chemicals, chemtrail chemicals, right on us every night for I don't know how, but 3 nights maybe or something like that. I don't remember that. And that was after we finally got into our house. It took a while for us to get into our house, and I think Susan told you about living in Milpitas, which was Milpitas. That's where we were living, near Milpitas, and how stayed in the
Denny's.
Denny's restaurant. Didn't live there, but stayed at the what hotel was it again?
Travelodge.
Travelodge.
Room 223.
Travelodge in Milpitas, because we were in Menlo Park, which was quite a distance from where our home was to wait for the truck. And we had a long wait, but Christmas and all that was mentioned. Susan mentioned it. And that was a crazy time for the children. They were good attitudes about it. That's what's also makes us proud of our children, is their good attitudes. And this was, of course, again in 1973, 74, working, finally moved into our house, and and Susan, 5 bedrooms, a nice home for the children and us, and school for them, get them to school. Jimmy was still too young to go to school. Joey went to Laneview Public School. The girls went to Morrell. Katie, who was old, you didn't go to Morrell, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, you did go to
Susie
Morrell?
went to Susie and Trace, or you went to Morrell.
No,
When we first moved there, they were in Laneview. I was the only one at Morrell.
Really? You guys are in Laneview? Oh. 70.
When we moved there, I was in 5th grade. So I was only at Lane.
Okay. I stand corrected by my children, and that's one of the nice things I like about them. They're not afraid to tell me that I'm not that smart. Let's see. Yes, I believe that's for now. I think that we'll just, we're going to take a break for now. But listen up. You come early, you get the best seat, okay?